Hey everybody, welcome to episode 168 of the Bonehead podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. And jingle. Welcome back, I'm Ben, and once again I'm joined by Blood Type Ben, Brush Type Ben. How you doing, BT?
Yeah, doing pretty good, thank you.
I need to get your name right. We did change it on like all the video, like on all the game stuff.
And yeah, it's what's the word? Incorporeal at this point.
Inconsequential?
Yeah, we'll go on.
What is your name? It is a ghost.
Yeah.
And talking of ghosts, fresh from the shores of Azkaban, we've got Milton back. How you doing, Milt?
I'm doing very good, thank you.
Snuck through those walls in his incorporeal form, and we've got Trips because he's on hollybobs, so we have dragged kicking and screaming KaijinChicken, one of the two masterminds behind Gutterball. Just the Gutterball guys is what I refer to you now on every one of the videos. So I think I've named your future YouTube channel.
That's about right, yeah.
How you doing, Nick? You all right?
Yeah, well, good, thank you. Yeah, stoked to be here.
It's very cool to have you on, man. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we've dragged KaijinChicken on, BT. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about filming Blood Bowl games, because now I feel like all four of us have had good experience doing that for the channel. So yeah, we're just going to be talking about sort of like how it works, like the issues we might come up with it, how easy is it, how streamlined can you make it, and things like that, because it's definitely something that we spent a lot of time learning and trying to refine. So
yeah, we've talked about it before on the podcast about like the pressures of playing on stream and stuff, because it's a very, very, very different vibe. When Kaijin started putting together the Gutterball series and was like, can we all work, can we share it on the channel to get it out there to the Blood Bowl fans? I think I messaged you, Nick, and I was like, please, somebody else has done the filming and the editing. Can we talk? Like, I need to talk.
Yeah.
To someone about this. So yes, we're going to drag you on and we are going to talk about that. Okay, so we put together a rough agenda because it's always a good opportunity to kind of get together. And like BT said, we've all got some experience now of filming some Blood Bowl games. And me, BT and Milt, we've been doing this for quite a while now. And Nick has been playing Blood Bowl for quite a while now and has started making content. So it felt like a good chance to just kind of, I guess, talk tech, but it's going to be mostly not about tech. It's going to be mostly about this is a nuisance, or got to do this differently, or this is hard to do. But just thought it'd be a cool idea to sort of get together and talk this. But first things first, Nick, who are you and why'd you play Blood Bowl?
So yeah, online or roundabout, I'm normally get called KaijinChicken, but yeah. Why did I get into Blood Bowl? I mean, it's all your fault, really. I can't remember what it was. It was probably early COVID days. It's the standard thing that probably a lot of people did. 2020 rules came out, which I didn't know anything about. And I stumbled across your Bonehead Championship. And then I hadn't played Blood Bowl for, I don't know, since Blood Bowl 1, I think it was. And even then, I didn't realise what I was playing, even though we had the 4th edition. 4th edition box when I was like 5 years old or something.
Oh yeah.
And so that was my brother Frodo, which a couple of people know from the Bonehead tournaments, comes along.
Oh, has Nick frozen for anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. The 4th edition box. Milt, when did you start? Did you play Blood Bowl before we dragged you into it, kicking and screaming?
No. It's all entirely your fault as well.
I know you're an older school Warhammer player, though, weren't you? Like,
yeah. So I've definitely come into this hobby through Warhammer. Certainly the old world stuff. So I played 40k and Warhammer as it was back when, and then it was Craig. What's his nickname here? I can't remember.
Raisin Horse.
Raisin Horse. That's the one. He brought me down to Wobble. I met you, and then you were like, "Here's some orcs." And
oh yeah, yeah.
The rest is history, really.
I mean, everyone loves orcs. BT, you came in via 40k, really, didn't you?
Yeah, for me it was still kind of you guys were responsible, but yeah, I was selling models to Richard, the previous host, and then decided that check out the local club because there was nowhere to play it around. you all played Blood Bowl, so I joined through that, and then took his job. So the rest is history with that.
I remember your sort of mutual love of corn.
Yes, yeah.
Was it
But
Blades
sort
of
of
Corn?
Sylvaneth, which weirdly we both lasted about 3 weeks with him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this Sylvaneth, the elf stuff in AOS has not been done brilliantly. Right, I'll tell you what. Let's take a quick pause. We are back. So yeah, Nick. I can't remember what you were saying. Something about Blood Bowl.
Where did you start?
Where did it start? Yeah, so we started watching the Bonehead Championship, me and my brother essentially, and then it was when Dungeon Bowl got announced. That was when we took the plunge, because that looked like something that was really just different. It was really interesting and an easy way to just like casually get into the game. I didn't really want to be too hardcore because I love Blood Bowl for the story, and so we all bought that Christmas, and it was me and my two brothers, the kids, and a friend. We just had this mini league that year. Dungeon Bowl came out, and we just got hooked. And so you guys announced the Dungeon Bowl tournament. We came to that, had a great time, and it kind of just spiraled from there. And then the addiction became real. But like I said, it was the story element which we loved. And yes, we went into 7s, we went into 11s, and loved the game for what it is. And then Gunball came out. And again, to me, I was like, this is fantastic. Because again, it's just crazy fun. And why I then started to look into filming and stuff like that and creating content was because there's nothing out there. I know the Guerrilla Miniatures did a little bit of it, and I was watching it thinking, and they filmed in the same style that you guys did. And I just, in my head, I just thought, oh, we could create some of that. And so I remember talking to Trips when I helped you guys out at Bonehead Bowl. And I was just like, and this is a really good idea. And it just fell from there. So yeah, that was it really.
No, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I massively appreciate all the stuff you've done for the channel. In fact, you came over and we played a game of Dungeon Bowl, didn't we, in Toyment?
Yes, that was awesome.
I spent most of the time going to you like, Tiff's pregnant and is it going to be okay? And you were like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Spoiler, right? You were right. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, I didn't take my own advice, and I had a number 2 as well. So I don't know where I went wrong.
Yeah, that was wicked. But no, I mean, there is that classic thing, right, where you watch a bit of content and you're like, I could do that. Like, and I think that's a really good thing. And Milton, you and I have had this chat, not necessarily about content, but about basically everything in the world, right? You and I will go, we could do that. We could do that.
100%.
Yeah. I think it's a really good
There's
way.
also ways that you can take what's there and put your own spin on it or improve it in certain ways. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely wicked. So, okay, Nick, so you were like, right, there's no Gutter Bowl content. We want Gutter Bowl content. I like the way this is filmed. I can do that. What were your next steps from taking that to reality? Like, what were you like? How like, it's a big undertaking.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I found out quite quickly, was just how much work was required to do it. And like, I mean, my first worry was, what gear do I need? And I'm like looking at cameras and all this sorts of stuff. And I just thought, you know what, some of your early stuff looks the easiest to reproduce, and because that's where you guys started. So I thought, let's go down that route. And so I started looking into like what tools to use, what programs or whatever to make it simple. And I did a couple of dummy runs that I sent through to you guys and gone, oh, this is what I've done. What do you guys think? And I started 3D printing the Gutter Bowl pitch again, just for, it was a hobby goal. And yeah, and I then got stuck quite early on, because how do I edit it? How do I have all those overlays that are cool to make it look like you're watching a sports game? And that's when I kind of had to reach out to yourselves and just go, because I had no idea what I was doing. But then we sat down and had like an hour conversation and stuff like that, and you showed me sort of some of the secrets behind, which were the simplest things in the world, which I would have never have guessed. And that just helped massively. Yeah.
I think you touched on a really, really important point there, which is something I'm really bad at and Ben's better. And that is that you can start off just going really deep and getting overwhelmed. Like I do with everything. If it's like a new hobby, I'm just like, okay, so how can I maximize like all the equipment and gear I have? How can I do it as best it possibly can be? And I think it's way more important to take that step back and just like cover the basics, because you can always build upon it. You can do it. It's just that it's going to be so much more motivating to get something done with the basics and not have sunk so much time, energy, and money into trying to make it perfect and never actually having anything.
It
I was
can,
gonna raise
however,
that point, then.
yeah, I was gonna say it can.
We've had that conversation, haven't we?
It can be quite disheartening though when you put something together and you're like, this doesn't look and feel the way I want it to feel. But then I think, like you just said, like just have a go, get started, and then you can always tweak it from there. And there's a really big benefit here, and Blood Bowl's a great example of this, and Gutter Bowl especially, is you are in essentially uncharted territory. So like you've got the opportunity to kind of like, well, we can do this, let's do it the way we can do it, and let's just take it to where it goes or where we want to take it. So like you're exactly right. We started with our point of view camera, which I think it might have been the iPhone 13. It might have been it was the iPhone 10 actually. We used iPhone 10 with the various like bits and bobs and cabled mics and stuff, and then we upgraded the iPhone, we upgraded the gimbal, tried a gimbal, that was rubbish. I'd love to get your thoughts on that in a second. Ended up using like a slider that we'd slide around, and we did all the different stuff, and we didn't have face cameras, and then we were like, right, how do we do the streams? And then we got no idea what we're doing. Like most of the time it's me going, what about this? And the boys are like, is that really necessary?
A lot of that.
Yeah. Ben is excellent. He'll be like, okay, why don't you just like focus on maximizing what you've already got? And I'm like, yes, or I could upgrade and do something different. And Ben's like, yeah, it's a very useful,
like side grades, not necessarily upgrades.
Yeah. It's a very useful thing to have like a bunch of different minded people in that way. So you've mentioned tech and like you've got a camera, like what the actual filming of it for the first time you did it, and for the first time you did a couple of games, like what did you learn from like, okay, I think I can do this 1 to game 3 after having done 2 games, and you're like, all right, I've learned that this is something I need to do differently, or this is something I need to do differently.
On the tech, I think you mentioned the iPhone 10. I can't remember what pixel I'm an Android boy. What pixel I started with, but I've upgraded to the latest one, and that's made a massive difference. Like even from the early days, we're so lucky now to have phones at the state that they are, that you can just use a phone. Because I was using like a camcorder, and that was so heavy.
Yeah.
To lug around and get the point of view that's smooth and as if you're playing the game, looks like you're actually playing the game. That's so yeah, switching to a good phone and with the right software and everything like that just made it so much better. We filmed on way too high settings, like 4K or something crazy, and there's this AI mode that double films and then splices it all together to make it super smooth. That we filled the phone within 30 minutes of a game. And so I was just like, okay, we can't do that. Let's tone it down. And then realize we're only uploading it to YouTube at whatever level we're doing it, that we don't need to go through the roof. So there was a lot of learnings around just making sure the phone is configured right. And then it's a really weird one how the table's set up. And so I did have all this grand plan of having all the shops along the side of the walls of the street and all of this sorts of stuff, and having the shops and the marketplaces in the middle of the streets as well, just to make it look really cool. But I think to BT's point, just let's get something in. Let's get it right, and then positioning. So we've got the dice table, the dice tower, which worked really, really well, and that meant it speeds up the game. It means to my left, that's where I'm throwing dice, and I can smoothly pan over as I hold it in hand. It's all those sorts of little things like that just makes the flow smooth. And yeah, I get it wrong a couple of times, and it's just learning how to, I've rolled the dice. Oh, say what I've rolled, or pan over to just show the audience sort of thing, that sort of stuff. Or if it's really on the other side of the table when you're reaching over, it's all being mindful, all that sort of stuff. I think the first couple of times I'm a little bit over the place, but later on, yeah, it's you can see me sort of learning and get better as we go.
because that's something I've always found is, and we're doing this with the most recent Bonehead Championship, is we've kind of like, you film a couple, then you start working through the editing, because that doing it once or twice, like doing a test and then doing it properly a couple of times, you will learn like I think the most at that point. Like when we used to hand film stuff, like I would have a gimbal and an iPhone and we'd do it all that, and then I learned very quickly, like, actually this is going to be better on a frame, because there's going to be less, it's going to look less like the beginning of Saving Private Ryan, like, and I'm not going to get RSI, like this is really useful, like, and that was one of the first things. However, that would not work on a 3D printed pitch. And then like you talk about like the market stalls and things, and this is something that again Ben and Milt are so good with me at. I'm like, we could do this. So like there's a really good example of like, I want the 3D printed market stalls because that's going to look really awesome. And I think the guys would be the first ones to be like, yeah, it'd be great, except for the players standing behind it that you absolutely can't see. And it's like, oh yeah, but I want the good thing, but the good thing doesn't work sometimes. And you know, I will massively give the lads the props. I mean, every time Milton comes over, I pick him up from the water train station and we have a good old chat about like QA stuff, which I'm sure he hates, being this like sort of a fundamental part of his job. But yeah, it's good to do the first test runs and take those learns very quickly.
I think it's interesting, actually. No, I don't hate it in the slightest. It's always good fun kind of talking through those things. And kind of to your point there, Nick, as to what you said about that iterative experience and your learning of going through those things. And I certainly remember the good old days, certainly the first 7 Super Series with the gimbal. And like that not really quite panning out, and then us having to kind of think about how we'd take that moving forward. So yeah, as Ben said, and I agree, and I think we've had that conversation quite a few times, haven't we, BT, about like, yeah, we can go to that extreme length, but no, just get in there and start. And having watched your series, Nick, like I really appreciate what you've done, and hearing you say that, like where you've started, and I can see so much potential for moving forward. And I think, you know, hearing you sort of talk about those things, you can see what you want to do with it as well. Really cool.
Yeah, if you need some big things printed that won't work, I'm your man.
That has crossed my mind, I have to admit.
Yeah, Ben, so those Saturn 2s. No, fantastic. So yeah, I think this is a really good kind of touch base. I want to kind of hear about your journey, and I want to get Ben and Milt to feed in about having been the victims of being on the camera, like as we do the different things, because the question I've got for you next, Nick, is you found a brilliant co-host, like top tier Primac. I saw he did put a comment saying, "Where am I?" I'm like, I will definitely need to drag him on at some point as well. But it's just I've only got 4 camera spots. Like, talk to me about getting Primac on side and his role in the filming, because this is when I want to kind of get Ben and Milt a little bit more involved, because I've got some questions.
That just came completely naturally. I don't even know how it happened, because obviously Prim comes to all the tournaments, all the Bonehead tournaments as well.
Just all the tournaments, right?
Actually all the tournaments. He's such a lovely guy. Like, it was your team tournament whereby we needed 3 people, and we had Frodo, and we were going to have Sanford. And he dropped out, unfortunately, because he's also a top guy as well. And yeah, and then we got talking to Prim, because I think he was doing a lot of legal tournaments around both of Frodo's and Stanford's area. And just we asked him. And so, yeah, and we had a great time, because again, he's such a great character, so enthusiastic and all this sorts of stuff. It just sort of became a natural fit. I sort of asked him, would you do the filming? Because I had a couple of people local to me, but a lot of them were quite new to Blood Bowl as a whole. And I thought, that doesn't matter. Forget the bowl, that doesn't matter, because, you know, it's a silly version of the game. You don't need to be a pro, and also we're filming for content. You know, if it's a silly game, all the more for it. But
that's why they give Trips those dice, yeah.
Exactly. I do want to ask. Yeah, it just became a natural fit. And then we sat down for this game, like with so much then going what we were doing, trying to, with the camera, with the phone, how do you film both of us? Where do I put the camera when I've got no stand for it? So I've got like this, my son's chair, which is only sort of like this big or whatever, and I sort of prop it on the seat so it can film us. And so the angles at the beginning of the couple of episodes are a bit all over the place, and you can't see the characters when we're talking about them below us. But hopefully we get better with that going forward. But he instantly, when I said, talk about your moves and stuff like that, and just because how you guys did that as well helped me learn Blood Bowl. I basically learned Blood Bowl through you guys. I didn't even read the rule book, and then when Dungeon Bowl came out, I sort of skimmed it because I already knew it through you guys. So I said that to Prim, and he got it straight away. And I was sort of, we didn't have to do any retakes apart from the very first intro, and it just was so smooth to the point of by the time we got to the end of it, we were like, "Oh, this is great," and we shut the camera off and went, "Oh, that was brilliant, great." And it was only afterwards we realised we hadn't filmed the outro of MVP and all this sort of stuff. So again, a couple of the early episodes we missed that, but yeah, he's great. It's been brilliant, and we've just talking about what we're going to do next and all this sort of stuff. It's just great.
It's very useful having a willing victim, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's
He's a victim too because he had to put a shirt on. Like that is big for Prim.
You say that it's him who keeps buying all the shirts. Like every time we go to, we've got like matching because we both took gnomes to. What was the last one? Oh, it was BB Nuts in Paul's. We like cruising with my Naomi or something like that. It was just brilliant. I mean, we both it's terrible, but it was a great pair. But yeah, he loves buying those shirts and stuff like that. Send some ones like these.
Yeah, love that one. So this is the interesting thing because I do all the filming and the guys help with all of the setup and all of the analysis, but I've never been the person who's been on the other side of the camera, and it's really interesting to grab you on because obviously I assume you're the one who's focusing on the camera, and I've always worried like what's the I don't want to say user experience, what's the victim experience, right? It's like Ben and Milt, you've come along the journey from having the point where you were filming exactly the way that Nick is here, was like, hey, come here, sit here, I'm going to point a camera. Like, how weird is that to start doing? Like, if you're filming, you're focusing on where it is, so you're actually kind of like, okay, I'm doing this thing the whole time. Is it weird as hell to like sit across and be like, I'm trying to play Blood Bowl, and you're just like paparazziing on the other side, like? Because you both did the early stuff and now you've got the new stuff, but specifically like Milt, when we used to do the original, we had you on sevens, didn't we? Yeah. Is it weird?
Certainly to begin with, I was incredibly self-conscious, and I think that in its own right impacts the game. It's not just about being on camera, but it's also about talking about the gameplay.
Yeah.
Because you could pretty much, I mean, it'd be rubbish for your other opponent. You could, if both of you knew the rules, you could pretty much play like people do in chess without talking. You really wanted to. I mean, it's quite natural to play a Blood Bowl game. It's a very social game, right? And we enjoy that social element of it. Kind of talk about what you're doing, but when you're making the content and you're conscious of being filmed, there's that certain like extra layer to it where, in a way, you want the viewer to kind of experience as you were saying, Nick, like especially from the point of view camera, you want the viewer to experience the game through your point of view, and in a way, some of the game is in your head, right? So you've kind of got to vocalize some of that, and then you're very conscious. And I know we're all guilty of this, of making mistakes. Like we will just constantly make mistakes, and then that's the other kind of self-conscious element to it where you're like, well, okay, did I do that right? And I know for the first lot, I would always go back when you posted the video and watch it and be like, all right, can I pick up on where I went wrong? And I was really bothered about it. Now I don't care. I mean, it's a thing, it happens, whatever. And I think there is that kind of learning process as being a player on camera and having that game recorded to know how to play in a way. I mean, you're not playing the game differently, but you are playing the game for an experience. There is a difference to it. How about you, BT? Because I know you've done a lot more than I have, certainly, and especially with the live streams and things.
Yeah, you definitely adapt. I think I'm at a point now where it's hard to remember like how I felt with it, because now it's just so comfortable to the point where it's kind of on the other end where if I'm playing a game in real life, I need to remember I'm not filming content. Like it's not. I'm not like I might not need to try as hard to like banter or like say stuff or talk through my turn. Like you just don't like. I do that a lot in with tournaments. If you play against me, you'll know that it's probably really annoying. But yeah, it's like it's hard to remember. But I don't think I ever felt like uncomfortable or that it was that weird. But I think it was definitely different. Like it's definitely it is somewhat less natural, but now it's gotten natural. If that makes sense.
It's interesting what you said there about talking through the turn and everything, because we were having this conversation, weren't we, Ben, when we were recording things?
Yeah.
And talking through the turn and everything. I said, I do that when I'm playing people. I think if you've played me, I will tend to talk. And now I'm sat here thinking to myself, listening to what you've just said, thinking, did I get that from playing a lot recording on the channel?
Yeah, probably.
Or did I have that first? And now I'm thinking, well, maybe I've just done that naturally. If now it's become a part of my normal gameplay.
The thing is,
I like it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that's probably where, there's another side to my hobby that I know where it's come from for me, but watching you guys again, learning you guys, and you guys talking through the turn, I think I've instinctively picked that up. But one thing I will say on that was I like that for two reasons. Like, yeah, it helps the viewers, but also for me, it's the mistakes piece. I'm kind of doing it to cover my back that if I do mistake, that my opponent can pick it up on me, or pick it up. And because Blood Bowl's such a friendly game, people go, oh no, actually no, that's strength 4, not strength 5. And you go, oh, of course, yeah. Or you've gotten guard. And you go, oh, brilliant, thanks. Okay. And I really, really appreciate that, because then my other hobby side is board games, and I used to host before Blood Bowl took over. Used to like help run a board game group every Wednesdays, and I would teach games to new players and all this sorts of stuff. So I would quite actively sort of say, I'm on my turn, I'm doing all of this, and it just helps those newer players and really get into it. But like it's that mistakes thing of I know I'm going to make mistakes, so I'm just going to say what I'm doing and hope if people pick up on it, and I do appreciate that.
A really good point. Yeah.
Oh, I said this to you, Nick. I think when I first like looked at one of your first games, I was like, I can't remember if it was you or Prim, but the way you were talking through that turn, I was like, that's literally how I would word it. That's exactly, that's totally the way I would process it. I was like, that sounds like my internal monologue, which was wicked. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not mad, or at least I'm not mad alone. But like, but I guess you kind of talk through coming from that board game way of like it's you when you're making content, you are either, I think, kind of channeling people who are playing their own internal competitive game, which we've done at tournaments, right? Which is we don't hear what they're saying, we just watch what they're doing. Now we don't do that on the channel, so the other angle is kind of like almost a DM, like the DM spirit, which like there's a dungeon master spirit, and I think all of us here, we've all got that natural kind of like, I want to help run a thing that people can have fun in, that people can enjoy, that people can be a bit safe on. Like Milt, I know you running the tournaments has just been fantastic, and it fits with you really well, and I know that you do such a good job of it, because you're like, I want to make this as easy and as efficient as just as good an experience for these 80 people as I can. And BT, like, you just have to look at one of the Twilight Imperium things or one of the board game sessions, you're always doing that, to the point where I know you're always thinking about the next game. You want to help teach people how to play so that you can play it with them. Like when you did the Birmingham Brass with us, you were like, this, and it was just clear that you were like, I want to build this framework so that you can enjoy it. And I think when it comes to this kind of stuff, like Milton and Nick, you both being like, right, I'm going to talk through my moves here. It's in a tournament, Ben, like you're talking through your moves, and it's not necessarily the most competitive thing to do. Like I remember doing this at Wobble when we do the league, because I'd be like, right, I can move him here, but then that gives you this opening here, so I'm going to think about this, and your opponent's just sitting the other guy going, cool, I guess I know, I guess I know where the vulnerability is. Now there's a meta shift there where you can actually plant little nuggets of bad ideas for them to follow through on, but like that's a separate thing. But I think it's really good. And
I do that to trips.
Yeah. You don't need to. Just like, that's a nice big guy you've got there, Trips. And he's like, great idea. 1. Which he loves.
I really hope you don't blitz double rush me with that big guy.
Oh no. He's only 2 dodges away from the ball carrier. 4. Yeah. Seen that too. But like, I remember I guess it was during the apocalypse. We were streaming a game and I was playing against James from Wobble, and I was streaming, so I was talking through my moves. He pinged up in chat. He was like, oh, thanks, guess I know what to do now. It's like, okay, I've made my choice. I'm here to make a story, to Nick's point, and just to make a really fun game. And you know, you do kind of cover yourself, because it also provides opportunities for people to go, you've missed this. You've missed that angle. I can see what you're seeing, but I've missed that angle. So it gives that better opportunity. And I've always seen YouTube as an asymmetrical conversation. Like, we put together our thoughts, we put it out, then people respond to that when they can. Like, and it's the same for gameplay. If you watch a game and you're sitting there going, you have missed that clear line of blitz, like, you're talking through it, they can understand why you've missed it. Or just like, oh no, he can't see it. And Milton, that was the other thing we had a chat about, wasn't it? It was a case of like, you're watching the games, and it's never ever more clear that you, like, looking at a problem from a different angle can present very different outcomes. Like, it's hilariously simple to say, but literally watching it on your side of the board, looking at it from your opponent's side of the board, or looking at it sideways, you will see different stuff, and it can be super useful. Very much like you're kind of saying, Nick, to kind of cover yourself, is like, talk through what you see, and if you're filming it from your point of view, it really kind of fills out that, and they're like, oh, I can see that, yeah, I can see that. Whereas kind of when you introduce more cameras, more angles, it can be very different, because you're looking at it across the field, and it's like, there's a blitz right there. Why can't you see the blitz? From the point of view camera, like, you cannot see the blitz because Ben 3D printed a market stall, and now you can't see what's behind it. Like, I absolutely love that. So next bit is the least fun, but I think is super important to talk about when it comes to making any sort of content, especially game content, which is editing. Nick, just, you know, how's your journey with editing gone? Because this is why I was like, oh my goodness, I can share my pain with someone.
Yeah, I mean, that was... anyone can record anything, but as soon as I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I've got all this content, what do I do with it? I was stumped. We talked through some software, I forget what it was now, on the phone, and that didn't gel with me. Just when you compiled, I'd spent all this effort cutting it, putting in all the little transitions, and then I clicked compile, and then all the sound was off, and I'm like, how long has that taken me? How much space has that taken up? And it's just a dreadful feeling. So I was trying to find something else that was affordable and sensible to get. And also, you're dealing with files which are quite big. I don't know how big you're being, but trying to juggle space on the phone, if you're filming on the phone or anything like that, then you got to make sure you've got enough, like a big enough disk space in there. But no, I ended up using Windows. I don't know if it's new or not, Clipchamp. And yeah, it takes you've got that learning curve for any tool, really, and putting it all together, and it does take time. I think you mentioned it in one of your videos. I don't know if it was a Patreon only one or not, but just it's what takes 3 times. And if a game takes an hour to film, you're then looking at 3 hours to edit, and it's just the amount.
Yeah, I would say as a rough estimate, you triple the time of your footage, because you can think about, like, well, it doesn't take too long to cut things out. You're cutting out time, and you're like, yeah, but if you've recorded 2 or 3 hours worth of footage, you've got, the minimum is you've got to watch 2 or 3 hours worth of footage, plus the time to actually do the stuff to it. Like, it is, I think it is, I would say it's about a factor of 3. Like, you've got to kind of go through it once to cut it down. Then you've got that second factor of time to edit, to graphics, to do the other stuff, and then that kind of, can't say that word, muck about time on the end of it, which also includes all your thumbnails and stuff like that. So I would say it's kind of like 3 times is a ballpark. And that, remember, my editing is quite slapdash. Like I'm not. I'm a functional editor, not a creative editor. But yeah. So I reckon about 3 times the amount of footage to do the editing.
A little small for me, but that's because again, it's that learning curve, and I've kind of got into the groove now. I think the biggest thing I learned to do was, instead of filming and holding and then doing turn after turn after turn after turn, is I film, I stop, just even if it's just a stop start, and then I know I've already got that sort of like natural cut in. That has definitely saved a lot of time, even though I've still got to line everything up, push everything in, and put all the transitions in and stuff like that. And I'm just like, but yeah, now I've got into like a little groove. I'm hoping the next couple of quite be a lot easier and a lot smoother and a lot quicker. But I'm still thinking that's a lot of time to spend on that. But yeah, I don't know fast.
There's you've given me flashbacks to some of our earlier content. Like I think we got pretty slick at it, especially with 7 Super Series and stuff, because you saying record a turn stop, record a turn stop, that's what I used to do. And then when I used to use Video Leap on the phone, I would prep all of the individual, like, you know, Never Bay Nightmares turn 3. I would make a graphic for each of those, and then when I put it together, I'd be like, click this video, this video, this video, this video, this video. I'd line it all up, import it all in one go. But that was back in the times where I used to Tiff and we would holiday regularly, so I would edit like by the pool, and it was fine. If it took 4 hours to edit, it was okay because I had a cocktail. It was all right. Very different vibes now. But yeah, like it's you can make the thing I love about this kind of stuff, and you already said it with like using a chair. Like I think Ben, you and I joked about it, about like your wedding being like the only time a photographer has to bring the exact equipment and make it look good and professional is like at a wedding. Because Ben's photographer turned out like it was pro. His gear was like John Wick with cameras. It looked like Disney had gone.
She had like 6 cameras just on slings. It was crazy.
And like 8 drones.
It was like GTA, like inventory.
Yeah, GTA inventory, at Tony Stark's house. It was wicked. But otherwise, every photographer, everything I've ever dealt with has been tape, bits of wood, whatever's lying around. So the fact you used a chair is absolutely wicked. I mean, guys, you've seen the studio, which is probably the best nick it's ever been in, but we've jury rigged some stuff. Like all the green screen stuff we used to do was an extendable shower pole with the green screen around it, which was great until it fell off one day and clocked Trips on the back of her head. Sorry about that, Trips. But like you kind of have to make it work, and I think that's the thing I find the most fun, and it's probably why it's my day job, right? Is how do you change the process to make the outgoing bit so much more efficient? And that's kind of what we've learned to do with using OBS with the camera inputs, to have the overlays there so you can just kind of edit as you go, which means you save editing time on the end. So it's very cool to hear you've gone through that. I appreciate we're running a little bit long now, chaps, but there's some points here I definitely want to cover. So what's next for, like, what would you want to do, Nick? Because this is the real juicy bit. Like you've figured out how to start making content, you've gone through some editing journeys, and there is no one way to edit. Like Video Leap with mobile stuff works great. That's what we used to do, using proper stuff like DaVinci. The learning curve is monstrous. I am transitioning between those two, having used Power Director as well, which I really don't like, but it works. And it's like I'm learning DaVinci to try and do other stuff. The multicam stuff in DaVinci is just swish, but other bits of it are bad. Like the transitions are boring. Video Leap transitions, way good. It's like you kind of do that, but like for you, man, what's your next bit? What do you want to do?
I think it's what I find funny is how Prim has reacted to the first recording is how I react to the Dungeon Bowl recording. Straight afterwards, that's kind of what spurred me to start Gutter Bowl, thinking about Gutter Bowl and thinking, oh, we can do this. Prim has now done that to me and gone, oh, we can do X, we can do Y, we can do Z. And so we've gone down lots of rabbit holes. We're thinking secret teams just before you guys announced that. And we're like, oh, I mean, it's what a great way to do it. And you guys have rocked it with 7 series. It's like we could do 7, we could do 11, because that's not been done on YouTube before. Or it probably has been done, but not sort of the first person point of view. So we thought was great. So we've started pulling teams together for that people have never seen to do that. We've thought about Dungeon Bowl, because again, there's not much Dungeon Bowl content out there. And then I the idea of secret teams in Dungeon Bowl, which I just think crazy. And then seeing the comments and how like positive a lot of the people have been. There's even loads of people already asking what's happening next. When's the next Gutter Bowl season? What are you going to do next? And stuff like we want Gutter Bowl. So we've kind of gone full circle back to, well, what if we do another Gutter Bowl series? We might do that. So those are options. I've got one more up my sleeve, which I've mentioned a couple of times, of similar to watching sort of mini wargaming, of doing a narrative play of somehow, and in coming up with some rules of a narrative Blood Bowl game where you follow a team and you follow them from like the streets to the riches. Like you start off with Street Bowl or Gutter Bowl, or like start in sewers, then you're in the streets, and then you go to sevens, and you can go all the way up at custom rules where you just follow one team. I think that there's legs there. I need to think more about it and how to like customize the rules, but that's like the old DM and me trying to think of ways of running something like that. But yeah, so I think we'll definitely do another Gutter Bowl. Whether we do something in between that, like you guys have been doing, we might do something similar. But I think let's get Gutter Bowl out of the way first this season, see how we get on, and maybe we ask the community, see what they want as well.
That sounds really exciting, by the way. That follow a team, tell a story, have all sorts of things happening to them. That sounds so good. Yeah.
I've become slightly distracted. I love the answer, but while you were doing that, Nick, I was kind of having a look at some of our older 7 series stuff, and Ben and Milton look so young.
I hate looking at that, man. I hate it. I'm like a child that someone's brought along to like their birthday party.
It is. There's Mill looking. You don't look too different, but definitely got the vibrancy there, and BT
your beard
is just
Christ.
Just
so much thinner.
I mean that's a factor of life. Anyway, but no, Nick, that is wicked. The narrative thing is I think we chatted about it, because there's ways to do it, but it's just how many hours in the day do you have is the real question. Now, before we move on to listener Q&As, because we've got that, Milton, Ben, from a Blood Bowl content point of view, like what would you want to see next, or what would you want to see more of? I appreciate that you're both in a really good position to be like, hey Ben, what about this idea, and you play the role of me of being like, Ben, slow down, but is there anything like you'd be like, oh, it'd be cool to do that, or oh, it'd be cool to do that, or it'd be cool to see that? Especially because Nick
covered it really. Like the secret stuff is like top of my league. I just want to see more teams. I want to see, more play styles, more interesting things. I'm always on board to just add more stuff in. There's a saying somewhere out there about more Blood Bowl and that. But
it is more better.
Yeah. Now he said the narrative thing. That's just all in my mind. I can't think of anything else now, because that sounds great.
like a Google worksheet or something like that. Just slam ideas and see what sticks.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to echo what BT said there. The secret team stuff, like just more teams and things. I think the kind of 11 stuff and everything, it's been phenomenal. Keep going with that. But yeah, just exploring the game more, and that narrative thing is really cool. Like, I want to see that. Like the thought of like following players, like specific players. I mean, I know you have, Ben, read the books. Have you, Nick? Have you read the?
Not yet, but I just even talking about it, I feel like I need to now, and it's I've never resubscribed to Audible, so I think that's probably going to be my next purchase now.
Go and read the books, and that will be absolute like fuel to your fire.
Danger.
Yeah.
Of ideas. Yeah.
I think the key thing with whatever we do, and a lot of feedback have said it, even to your questions, Ben, when you posted about like getting feedback from people and from our videos as well, is I don't think it doesn't matter too much what we do, as long as, because for me that's what was so addictive for you guys, is you're playing, you're having fun, and it's fun to watch, like, and that's what's so great about Blood Bowl though.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Right, guys, any questions for Nick before we have a quick look at the power list? I mean, you kind of been given the opportunity to ask as we've got along. I just wanted to check.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I
On the
think,
spot now.
yeah, I don't know. I'm very happy with all the content you produced, and yeah, huge congratulations on what you've done so far, and looking forward to what you come up with next.
Cheers,
No,
man.
I do have a question. Why KaijinChicken?
Oh, that's going back.
And how badly do I pronounce it?
I've got no idea. So it takes you back to World of Warcraft days. World
danger.
of Warcraft, I know, classic. So I was, for some reason, my middle brother, who doesn't play Blood Bowl much, he's come to one tournament with his son, but he got me an account on a realm so I could play with him, because I was playing Horde on another server. And the guy was called Kaijin, like how I've spelled it, Kaijin or however.
Yeah.
And we were playing with a bunch of Americans, and then they just called me KaijinChicken because they love KaijinChicken, and it stuck.
Oh, it's KaijinChicken. Okay, that makes so much more sense now.
Exactly. And then
God.
turns out I'm
this pronunciation. You go for like the Gaijin.
That's what I
thought it was a
thought.
play on that, like Kaiju and Gaijin.
I thought it was Kaiju Chicken at first. I was like,
Yeah,
that's a fun name. Like,
Okay, that was a good question.
it's like, that's a hell of a drumstick. Oh, wicked. Right, we got a few questions. We did put a post up, and I figured we could go through some of this. Now, we've covered some of this already. So, Chris Stevenson, what equipment are you using? Cameras, mics, etc. Nick, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, you talked about wireless mics. We use sort of wired in the early days. I did look at that, but I tried wireless and it seemed to work fine. You just get it. It just nowadays you get a little adapter you just chuck in the end, and then we're both pinned and it works fine. You get it off Amazon. So which meant our kit was the phone and the mics, and that was it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, we've got some wireless mics, but I maintain, and this is probably just from being a Battlestar Galactica fan, that wires are just significantly better, which is why you. Amusingly, I hate spiders, but the studio is just like a spider web of cables, which always upsets Trip a bit. And I think
you've been burned before, though, haven't you? With those, that's the thing. And there's nothing worse than having a recording session and realizing it's real.
Yeah, I think that's also just a factor of making content. We've had to bin a couple of episodes off, a couple of games off. Oh, Ben, the Dungeon Bowl game with you and Trips, like filmed the entire game and no audio at all.
Oh yeah, that was at my house, wasn't it?
Yeah, Trips won as well, so he was like, "This is brutal."
Wasn't one game 3 hours and the other one was 20 minutes? Yeah, that's good.
Dungeon Bowl. Kindred asks, how do you best summarize the action on the pitch for viewers who can't see the whole table, read skill markers, or easily identify player types? I guess we kind of covered that with what you guys were saying about talking through your moves and talking through what you see as a player. Any builds on that one, or do you think we answered that?
Well, I don't know. This is the thing that probably, we can all work on, is trying to make the things clearer. It is very difficult though, especially when, you're thinking about the paint jobs, the kind of the things on the table and kind of getting that. It's not an easy one. It's very much an iterative thing for us, isn't it? And I know that obviously you've got the Charlie Victor skill markers and things, but they're not indefinite at showing all the skills. So I don't know, I don't know how you kind of add to that. It's a very difficult one to kind of get that whole thing over to the viewer.
I know how you could do it, but the amount of time spent editing, I just don't think the return on investment would be worthwhile. Like as far as telling the story, it doesn't always matter the minutiae of it. Like for Blood Bowl 3, you need to know what the other players, because you're in the game. But if you're not playing the game, it doesn't matter if the guy in the left hand corner has actually got blodge. Like, if it matters to the player who's talking through the moves, then it matters to that element of the story. If it does matter to the story and the player who's making the moves hasn't called it out, I promise you that's going to come up as a surprise in a minute. That's going to get called out. So I think talking through what you see as the player, whether you're recording games or commenting to games, I think is probably all you can do without having fancy overlays and pop-ups for each of the players and being like this skill, which is totally fun. But again, I think that's probably another X of content time. Like, and that's totally fine if you've got the investment to do 15 hours of editing, absolutely. But you probably don't. Like, if Play on Tabletop ever do Blood Bowl, expect that. Like, yeah, I think that's a quality question. Caron says, not a question, just a comment. Thanks to everyone involved for bringing top tier Blood Bowl content. GG's, Caron.
Lovely guy.
Yeah. That one's not about YouTube, so we'll come back to that. Like that question.
I was going to say there was one on how do we get all the sounds and stuff like that, the background sounds. So I get a lot of stuff, they just come natively in the Clipchamp editor. So I've started putting in like injury sounds and crowd cheering when certain things happen. I just thought that was, if I've got the spare time, I chuck them in. It just depending how long something's taking me to edit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just things like that.
That's something I need to be better at doing. It's the setup. Once it's set up and you're good to go, it's all right. Because you get it into your workflow and it kind of happens automatically.
Yeah.
This is the one you answered already, but here's my question. This is from Actual Pal. Would you ever consider filming tournaments? Is it logistically possible? I would love to see some tournaments covered, but I get that it may not be possible to lug all the equipment to the venue, but would love to hear your thoughts on it. Nick, you already replied saying the guys have done it. And to summarize, it is a big amount of work, a very big amount of work. And we've done it several times, maybe 3-4 tournaments where we've streamed the whole day. Or I think like you sort of said, Nick, is we did round check-ins at Beachhead. It's not about whether it's worth it. Your response was excellent, Nick, which is a bit about it takes the crew away from actually being there at the tournament. And the point of being at a Blood Bowl tournament is to see everybody and to hang out. Like, that's the biggest win. And it's taken me a long time of these guys and trips kind of just reminding me, like, yes, you can play with tech, but you can play with tech by yourself. There is a room full of people here that you can talk to. I'm like, oh yeah, I should talk to the people. And yes, like, hey, Blood Bowl as an esport would be amazing. I really don't think the audience is there, which is a shame. But yeah, it's a cool thing, but it's just a worse quality for the viewership, really. It's just loud and unclear.
There's a lot of factors as well. It's not just like the quality of the output. It's also often privacy of the players as well. And like it's quite hard to justify it and to organize it so that you're playing with two people who are comfortable playing on camera, where it's not going to affect their game. Like, it's also like you go to a major tournament and be like, okay, we're going to stream the top table, but now those people on the top table are going to have all that pressure added onto it.
Yep.
Even if it's like, you know, let's just say 12 people are watching, who cares? There's probably more people watching around them. But it's like,
even being recorded,
it's just, yeah, exactly, having that recorded and like immortalized, and like there's just a lot of psychological things that it's almost quite intrusive to ask, it feels sometimes. So it's just a lot of factors that go on with it.
So you've actually been on that, Nick, haven't you? I'm ooh.
It was the Beachhead. I was sort of top table for almost the entire thing. But yeah, that was okay. That was, but it was. I can't remember if it was which one it was, but I remember you filming and noticing mistakes. Again, it comes back to that whole thing of you kind of got this sort of unwritten contract between the players that if you spot a mistake, you should call it out, and then you work through or whatever. But if both players miss it, well, okay, you just got to move on. Yeah, it is what it is. But I remember when you're filming it, all the audience are going, "Oh, hang on, they've missed that glaringly obvious thing, and they played on that should." And you sort of, I
Match invalid.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Take away their win.
You won the tournament because of da-da-da-da-da. But yeah.
Well, it was the infamous sidestep on
Yeah.
Backflip.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah.
Has he not got a sidestep? I thought.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's for the whole
He
thing.
still does.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
if you go on YouTube.
Yeah, I will say though that professional sports stuff, the referees and people miss things all the time. It's a fact of life, but when you make it so clinical, it's a really good one. Right, last question, guys, and then I know we've got a crack on today. But are reaction cameras a good idea? Helps with selling the drama, but not everyone is comfortable with a camera on them. I think we've just touched on that from like a competitive event. But if you're making content, I still don't know the answer between how much time should be spent with the player versus looking at the board and a hybrid approach. I think where we're currently at with the championship, the format we're using is built up from doing the live streams, and when you're doing a live stream, having a person's face there is very important, I think. But when you're recording the game, if you're doing the edits, whether that person's face being there all the time is a really, like, it's really nebulous, or I can't remember what Ben said, very ethereal, as a point of order. What are your guys' thoughts on that one, on players, reaction cam, face stuff in a game?
I like it because I think what we do and what people have said is like the vibe of the channel is two people on a games night.
Yeah.
And I think when you can see the two people on the games night, I really like that. I think it's less about, often people are there. If you want to watch people play Blood Bowl and have a really good game of Blood Bowl, there is a lot of it out there. And a lot of it, like, especially on like Blood Bowl 3 and all of that. But I think it's like the vibe and the atmosphere of what we're producing is two people playing against each other on games night. And that's why that's why I think it elevates it a little bit more. I think if you took that away, it would be more about the game. And the game, honestly, when we're playing, ain't that great. So
You couldn't carry it. You're right. That what we do is very much a case of like, we want you to feel like you're sitting next to us at club night, like, yeah, and that exactly. You know, we want to be the worldwide local league. That's kind of how we do stuff. But I was interested to get, you know, everybody's thoughts on this. Milt, you got anything? Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with BT on this one, and I think, you know, it is difficult, and it is a learning thing. I know BT has a lot more experience with it, having done all the live stream stuff. But you're right, to get the viewer, and as a viewer of the live streams and stuff myself, it is really important to see how the players sort of interact with each other. That kind of riffing, you know, the kind of the humor. You know, you're right. The games go wrong, or you don't play them necessarily to the best standard or whatever, and that's fine. You're enjoying yourself, and that kind of, you know, that lends to the names of the characters. It lends to, you know, nicknames and all the other kind of things that you have as part of that sort of that friendship and that fun of playing the game. So that is really important.
Good old raisin horse.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, because from my side, the sort of not counter, but the other side of the argument to do something like that is investment. You've got to either have more cameras or you're panning up and down a lot more than. But I mean, I'm hoping it comes across with, because like to your point, Ben, of having the making it feel like you're there at our league game. I'm so blessed. Again, we talked about Prim, like the how we play together and just how much fun we have. I hope comes through even when we don't have the reaction. Yeah,
definitely, and that's why it's really good to see because we still to this day do not know the answer of like because the community's always been split. Like our viewership's always been split. Like first person view is much better, or you know, studio view is much better, because if you've got the first person view with conversation, you're in the space, right? But I think the trap that I'm very conscious that we try and never fall into is having the studio view without that community feel, because then it's just literally just like a very clinical disassociated thing. If you've got the first person view, you're in the story, you're living the story. If you've got the studio view with people having banter and seeing the facial expressions, you're sat next to the story. And I think either one of those, it depends on what you're doing. I mean, let's face it, most people watch YouTube content either on the TV while they're playing on their phone, or it's minimized on their screen while they're painting. So like it's about that listening and having the chat, and both ways I think get the chat across, which I think is what you guys are saying is the most important thing, which is why it's much better to have, Ben's always espoused this, good audio, and you know, that interaction. You can basically do whatever you want. Like most our old stuff is all 720p, but still good fun because you can hear the pain in each other's voice, and you don't need to see the pain on the face when you can hear it. I think is probably a great way to end the podcast. Nick, thank you so much for giving up your time to jump on and talk about this. I'd love to have you back on again at some point to talk about some other bits and bobs. But yeah, thank you so much for jumping on, dude. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
And Milton and BT, it's always fun to hang out with you guys and chat Blood Bowl.
Oh, and I saw a cat, I think, in the background.
I wasn't going to ask. I was like, tentacles, roll a d6. Yeah. Roll a d6. That's a classic. Anyway, we're going to wrap up. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking.